Every new year, I set these New Year, New Me goals usually related to some sort of physical, financial, or self-development skill. And every new year, a few months later, I realized that I wasn't really making any progress towards these goals. So this year, I did things a little bit differently. I made one big change, and was that I set goals without obsessing over the reward of those goals. You see, the big problem that I had was that all my goals had a huge emphasis on the rewards of those goals. I had to get a six-pack app because I had to impress everybody. I had to get $1 million in the bank. That way I can, buy at home and support my family. I had to get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That way I have more influence in this world. But what I realized were that goals aren't really met by just having a great reward at the end. Goals are met by the day-to-day things that you do in order to progress towards those goals. Hey, what's up you guys? My name's Christian and I'm all about leveling up in life in a fun, exciting, and sustainable manner. Today's video is going to be on goals and how you can have the right mindset in order to use them to your advantage. My inspiration to not focus so much on the rewards of those goals come from the concept of infinite versus finite games. And this is a metaphorical way to actually look at how we approach the game of life, right? How the game of life is played. Now, infinite games are essentially, a way of playing the game where we essentially set goals that don't really have an end goal in sight, right? These are things like, I want to be healthy, I want to be a great partner, I want to constantly improve on, these specific skills. These are things that you're going to want to do year after year after year, right? The whole purpose of those goals is to keep on playing those goals, right? To keep on playing those games. On the other end, finite games are games where there's a very specific way on how you can win that game. These are goals where essentially if you meet that goal, then you succeeded. If you don't, then well, you're a failure, right? These are things like, I want to get a six-pack app by summer. Obviously, if you don't get that six-pack app by summer, then you did not really meet the goal. So you failed, right? That's what we like to tell ourselves. And oftentimes what happens is that if we don't really see progress towards those goals and we had this really huge end goal in sight, right? We get very unmotivated and this leads us to just giving up and trying again next year. I went through this and most likely those of you who watch this as well, you've went through the same thing as well. My big epiphany here is that most people, when they approach goals, they just want to brute force their way through. They basically tell themselves like, hey, I'm going to stay disciplined, I'm going to motivate myself, I'm going to do it whether I want it or not. But honestly, that's not a very reliable way to do things. Because imagine if you're playing a game and you're just, you're really suffering through it, you hate playing it, it's not fun, then the likelihood of you quitting that game and to actually stop trying to be better at it is going to be way higher. Where else, if you're able to play it and you actually enjoy playing it, eventually you're going to get good enough in order to reach all those huge rewards, right? And that's the big epiphany that I have. So what I realized was that over-focusing on the rewards of those goals actually take all the fun out of the game. I actually know this because I'm a huge video gaming nerd, and when I'm playing video games, sometimes I get caught up in just wanting to beat that game, right? I want to complete it, be a perfectionist, and that burns me out sometimes, right? The game stops being fun, I tend to, get pretty bored, and then, it basically takes all the magic out of, trying something new, something exciting, right? And I applied this concept into goals right now because instead of focusing so much on the rewards, now I need to focus on the actual goal. What is the actual things, the step-by-step things I need to do if I'm pursuing those goals, and can I make it fun? That is the secret I try to focus a lot more on. Alright, so to help you get started with setting goals with this new mindset in mind of just wanting to enjoy playing the game, I have three main things that you want to pay attention to. The first is to focus on systems, second is figure out how to make it fun, and lastly is on being open to changing your goals. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is to focus on your systems. Now, when you set goals, what I found to be the most useful is when you set goals with very clear action-oriented things. You're not really thinking of the reward, you're thinking about what you need to do in order to get to that long-term goal, right? So for example, if I wanted a six-pack abs, right, then obviously the first step is I need to start going to the gym, or I need to start working out a little bit more. So my goals will look more like, I will go to the gym 2 times a week at these specific times, right? Because now it's not so much about getting those abs, it's more about just showing up to the gym. Because ultimately, whether or not I get a six-pack ab by the end of the, summer or whatever it is, if I'm able to maintain that, now I'm a little bit closer to that end goal or not. And at the same time, I'm not going to feel unmotivated. I'm not going to feel like I'm not making progress. I'm going to give up on that. The goal is very simple. I just need to show up at the gym and do that specific thing. I also heard about this concept by a recent podcast by Mark Manson, where he basically mentions you want to really undershoot your goals, right? Because most often people are going to set these huge goals, these huge dreams, and that's the general advice where people say like, make sure you're dreaming big or whatnot. But the problem is when you dream too big, it becomes too overwhelming to actually get there, right? And that gets you really unmotivated to keep on pushing through. Instead, what you want to focus on is what you can control, what you can do on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis. And if you can continue doing that, you will continuously progress. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do. And on top of that, just make sure you narrow down your focus. Just change 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 systems at a time. Don't try to, change everything about your life. Just make one or little two tweaks. And then once you can do that consistently enough, then you can add on to that. This is a really great way to actually set goals and start progressing without really putting too much thought into it. As for the second thing you want to do is make it fun. You know, if we really think about it, if you have fun doing something, then obviously you're going to do it for a long period of time. And if you do it for a long period of time, then you're going to get better and better at it. Now, of course, I understand, you know, a lot of our goals, we have to do a lot of things that we don't really like doing. But at the end of the day, if you really want to get amazing at that particular thing, there is no other solution. You need to enjoy doing that thing. And what's really cool is that you can make anything fun for yourself. You can make anything intrinsically motivating for yourself. And the way that you actually make things intrinsically motivating is you kind of make a game out of it, right? Like, for example, when I'm going to the gym, I always set like a 40-minute playlist where I would strap on my headphones, I walk into the gym, and I'll say like, you know, while this playlist is playing, you know, I'm going to jam out, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to have an absolute blast in the gym. And the whole idea here is that you can find a short-term way to make it fun, right? And if you do it again and again and again, eventually you'll build a habit where you're going to go to the gym without really thinking about it anymore, and things get a lot easier from then on. But initially, you want to find a way where you actually get excited to do that thing, right? I mean, for me, sometimes I don't really like going to the gym, but then I find a really nice playlist and then I just kind of, you know, hold it for a while. I'm saying like, okay, the next time I go to the gym, that's when I get to listen to it. And that makes me excited to get to that next session, right? And I repeat it again and again, week after week after week. I actually covered this concept a lot more in my last video. I'll make sure I link it at the end of this video, so do stick around if you want to check out a little bit more on that kind of stuff. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to smash the like button. It's the easiest way you can let me know this kind of content is things you want to listen to, and it's the best way you can actually support this channel in its growth. Now back to the video. And lastly, the third thing you should pay attention to is to be open to changing your goals. I know that for many of us, when we set goals, we feel that we need to sit through it all the way, right? We need to force ourselves, discipline ourselves to make sure it actually happens. But what I realized was that as human beings, as we grow, as we, you know, learn, as we evolve, our priorities change, right? Our goals change. So if you find that a goal isn't serving you anymore, it is completely okay to change it. The big thing you need to keep in mind is that if you're doing something and you're absolutely dreading it, you're hating it, you don't see a reason why you're doing it, just stop it, right? Because now that motivation isn't there, you can't really see why you want to do this. You know, this is a topic for another time, but you know, what's your purpose for actually pushing through that goal? If you don't have a proper base, a foundation to do so, it's going to be extremely difficult to actually see it all the way through. And even if you did make it all the way to the end, guess what? You're going to actually stop at that thing and you're not really going to continue to improve upon that. So it's a very empty goal in my opinion. You need to understand that if a goal doesn't serve you anymore, you need to actually restructure things, rethink it, because sometimes there are many different paths to getting to an end goal, right? Getting to wherever it is that you want to go. And you don't have to just pick one path. If you want to be healthy, the only path is not just going to the gym. You can, you know, go for walks. You can figure out how to do workouts at home. You can, you know, do the 101 different activities in order to stay healthy. There are many ways to do something. You just have to actually think, how about it are you actually approaching the thing? Because the big idea here is that you want to enjoy playing the game, right? Because obviously in the game of life, the whole purpose is to keep on playing the game, because at the end of the game of life, well, you know, you don't really like survive. I mean, you die, whatever. But my point is that if you're playing the game, the best way to do so is to enjoy it, because when you enjoy playing the game, now it trickles down to everything else and you'll be a lot more successful. At least that's what I'm trying to do this year. I'm trying to focus on systems. I'm keeping it very simple. And if I see goals that don't really align with what I'm trying to pursue, my big why, then I kind of just pivot and make a little bit change. So far it's doing pretty good. I'm a lot more consistent with making videos here. I'm a lot more consistent with going to the gym. So I hope it carries forward towards the end of 2024, and I'll make sure to update you guys on that. That's about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can go ahead and check out this video over here on how to get started with doing all the tough things in life. It's on the press start method. It's something that I really enjoy using, and I actually use it whenever I'm struggling to actually make progress towards my goals. So until the very next one, thank you so much for watching. My name is 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Take care. Peace.